This video is brought to you by StarCharge, the largest EV charging manufacturer in the world. They are also a provider of residential and commercial battery storage with microgrid solutions. This video is also brought to you by Kempower, the reliable, quick, and scalable EV charging solution for everyone and everywhere. Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. Behind me is an electric car, and it is -10 Fahrenheit or about minus 25 degrees Celsius. Pretty chilly. Certainly the Minnesota guys are like, this is shorts and t-shirt weather, but it's still very cold out here and certainly very cold for electric cars. Now, on this channel, we cover EVs and combustion cars and compare them. But we're not like here to make EVs look good. We're here to just test and then share the results with you. And so many people have been tagging me. It's been all over the news that, well, you can't be in an electric car in cold weather because you'll run out if you're stuck on the highway in a traffic jam. And to me, I go, okay, well, you can run out of either fuel or electricity in any car if you idle it for too long. So they're not wrong. It is very possible to run an electric car completely dead by running any sort of load on it, just like a combustion car. The big question is, for how long can you go in an electric car before it dies? If you're stuck on I-70 and the road closes and it's, again, -10 Fahrenheit outside, how long can you go in the winter time? That's what we are going to be attempting to find out in this video. I'll walk you through the testing procedures. I'll explain why I chose this Tesla to use the test. And then, of course, we'll simulate a traffic jam. First off, why did I choose a Tesla for this test? Well, Teslas are pretty much the most popular electric cars on the road here in America. They actually have a pretty fairly cool HVAC system as well, using a heat pump, as well as scavenging the heat from the battery pack and the motors. The car that we'll be using is a 1,000 horsepower Tesla Model S Plaid, not something you'd really think about for winter driving, but of course I've got the Nokian Hakkapeliitta R5 winter tires on here, so we have plenty of traction. We have, again, all-wheel drive, and I would say a pretty good state-of-the-art thermal management system. I'll also, at the end of this video, give you an impression as to how much energy I think you would use if you're in a car without a heat pump, and of course some of the electric trucks or even economy cars. But Tesla is, again, very popular. Model 3, Model Y being very popular vehicles. That's why I'm choosing this one here to simulate this test. Let's jump inside because my hands are about to freeze off and I'm going to simulate a traffic jam. Let's do it. Well, guys, we are attempting to find out how long you can sit in traffic in an electric car, but there's a few things I need to let you know right up front before we start this test. And of course, I'll walk you through how I've set up the car for the testing procedures. The first is, we all know that electric cars charge faster when you're at the lowest state of charge possible. So this is just in general. So when I drive on road trips, I'm typically getting to fast chargers between 2 and 8% state of charge, let's just say. Now, in the winter time, when the conditions are bad, that's not enough buffer for even me to feel comfortable, especially living here in the Rocky Mountains, knowing that I-70 can get closed down for hours on end in frigid temperatures. I always overcharge. Now that does add to the overall trip time. Again, I'm trying to be realistic here. I'm not here to tell you electric cars are better, and I would certainly never try to convince someone who doesn't want an EV to buy an EV. For me, they're fun and interesting, but I also own combustion cars as well. And so it is important to recognize that travel times will increase in the winter, probably not by much, probably on a 5 or 6 hour trip, maybe 20 or 25 minutes at the most, just to leave a little bit extra in the battery pack. And then your consumption will also decrease in the winter because, or sorry, your consumption will increase, your efficiency will decrease because you have to warm up the battery on the way to charging stations. That's going to use a little bit more energy as you precondition the car. So let's be realistic and understand that electric cars consume more in the wintertime. So do combustion cars, by the way. Combustion cars consume more. The thing with the combustion cars, you usually have a massive fuel tank and there's fueling stations that can fuel it up in just a few minutes on every corner, where with an electric car, we have sort of charging stations that are, yeah, I would say, at least in Colorado, maybe 20 or 25 miles, maybe 30 miles apart from each other, and certainly take a lot longer than a few minutes to charge, especially if your battery is cold. So that is the first and most important thing to recognize as the start of this test, which is we're going to be very realistic about the use case of an electric car in cold weather. Secondly, the testing procedures. I have tried to simulate a road trip condition as best as possible. I preconditioned my Model S and it melted all the snow off of it sitting in my driveway. I had it on an AC charger. I then preconditioned to my local Tesla supercharger and charged it up. So I made sure that the battery was warm after a charging session. This is only just a few minutes ago. We're just arriving back. And I charged it to about 80% state of charge. Now, the reason I did that to warm up the battery is because on a road trip, you're going to be hopping charger to charger to charger every few hours along your trip, and you're going to have a warm battery pack. So that's why I've warmed up the car in this case. I just think that's the most representative case of EV road tripping. Now, you could argue that, you know, you're on your first leg of your trip and you haven't warmed up your battery, but ultimately that's not going to add too much to the consumption of this. You would just, if you're stuck in traffic and your battery is cold, my recommendation would be to just turn off battery preconditioning if you really think you're going to be stuck there for a while. So ultimately, I don't think that's going to play too much of an impact. And I charged up the car again to 80%. We're down to 74%. Now, the battery pack in this car is roughly 100 kilowatt hours usable, roughly, just under, but roughly. And what we're going to do in this test is I'm going to inch around my neighborhood, simulating against stop traffic and moving along for 1 hour exactly. And then we can calculate how much energy we use in that 1 hour and multiply it out, you know, of course, to see what would fill up that 100 kilowatt hours. Now, you can interpret that data however you want. You can say, well, I'm never going to be stuck in traffic at 100% state of charge, which you would never be stuck in traffic at 100%. You would have whatever's left in your battery, and that is the big unknown variable of all of this. If you get stuck right before your next supercharging stop, you may only have 15 or 20% state of charge in your battery pack. Just like in a gas car, if the highway stops just ahead of where you're going to pull off to fill up your tank, you might be down to 1/8 of a tank or 1/16 of a tank. So it's always hard to say EVs can last this long in traffic because you never know when you're going to hit a highway closure and at what state of discharge you're going to be at. So just throwing everything out up front here. What we're going to do is simulate roughly how much energy 1 hour sitting in stop traffic will be. We'll try not to go above 10 or 15 miles an hour at the very most over a 1 hour period of time. And we're going to basically look at everything. Now, in the Tesla itself, in order for things to count towards the trip calculation here, I actually have to keep the car in drive. Because if I put it in park, I believe the HVAC does not count to our total energy. So what we're going to be doing is, of course, when I come to a stop and make a phone call or a text message or something, I'm basically just going to sit in drive and then inch around. And it for sure will calculate the energy consumed by the HVAC system, even if I'm stopped, as long as the car is in drive. So for 1 hour, we're going to basically be doing this and looking at how much energy we use, just inching around. So what do you say we start the test? Car's already warm, battery pack's already warm. Again, simulating road trip conditions. I'm at 74% state of charge. That really ultimately doesn't matter. And just to show you guys that the battery is warm, again, it doesn't matter because if you turn off conditioning, the battery is not using any energy to maintain temperature. Okay, so hold on, gotta put it in park to just show you this. Come on, go to park, there we go. Don't need a software update. Doesn't actually change anything for this test. Climate control back on. If I come here to high voltage, yep, you can see we're at almost 40 degrees Celsius max temp, 34 degrees Celsius min temp. And so, yeah, battery's not going to be kicking on anything like that, any conditioning for the battery pack. And again, if I was stuck in stop traffic, I would disable battery preconditioning to the next charger just to, again, conserve as much energy for the HVAC system as possible. I know I hit you with a lot of information. That's how I typically do things. I want you to understand it all. I've never done a test like this. I genuinely don't know what the results will be. So I'm looking forward to having an answer for you guys. And, all right, guys, well, you just joined me in the car now. It's indicating -6 degrees Fahrenheit, although the temperature sensor is right next to the heat pump in this car. So this one always reads a bit warmer than ambient. It's actually -10 outside, according to our home weather station, and I'm at home. So, yep. Okay, so here's what we need to do. We are going to simulate 1 hour. I'm going to set a stopwatch as soon as I start, but I'm going to reset trip A, which is called SEMA, but that's the last thing I did with this car was, I guess, drive it to SEMA. And so, yep, let's reset SEMA and we will hit the road. I'll start the stopwatch and we'll go. Well, we are all started and we are off right at 9:30 p.m. So as soon as we hit 10:30 p.m., we will stop. I have made sure that the trip is reset here. If I come here to trips, boom, we are reset on SEMA. It does take a little bit to bump up. What should I do for temperature though? I feel like it is slightly chilly in here. Again, I want to run comfortable speeds. So I'm going to set it to 72, maybe 72 to 75-ish. We will run. Again, I have autopilot set at 5 miles an hour right now, simulating, again, traffic jam, crawling along. So my neighbors are going to think I'm crazy. Crawling along at 5 miles an hour. It's actually saying it has poor visibility, so it wants to only go 3 miles an hour, so 2 miles an hour. So it's really simulating a true traffic jam at the moment. And if autopilot can only work at 1 mile an hour with a fairly clean windshield, and I'm not even in autopilot, this is just cruise control. I'm not really sure how these cars are ever going to be full self-driving, but that's a topic for another day. Cool. So it should update our energy and watt hour per mile soon. I'm expecting it to be, I don't know, pretty high because we're going slow. Consumption will go high because we don't have a lot of distance to amortize it over. So let's go, and I'll keep you updated throughout the test. There, we've just had our first update. Average energy 477 watt hour per mile. That's kind of what I was expecting cruising along like this, and maybe even more. We'll see. But yeah, we'll probably come to a stop in certain areas for 3 to 5 minutes at a time, and then just inch along like this, 4 or 5 miles an hour, simulating, again, a traffic situation.
Just for reference and context, he is this far away.
And this traffic sucks.
You're doing great.
I haven't run out of charge yet.
Oh goodness, you keep trucking. You got
right.
some traffic behind you coming. There you go. There's the proof in the pudding that he is going this slow. People passing him left and right. That darn Tesla ain't fast enough.
Okay, interesting findings and results. We've been at it for roughly 13 minutes now. I'm actually setting it at 1 mile an hour because I feel like this is, you know, if I'm sitting in stop and go traffic, pretty representative. And wow, it's frustrating. And it's so funny how autopilot is speed limited at 1 mile an hour. But I've set it to 1 mile an hour. Anyway, okay, trips, yeah. We've only gone 1 mile. We haven't even used 1 kilowatt hour. And I've only lost 1% state of charge indicated. So I feel like it's doing way better than I expected at the moment. I thought that this thing would just chug the juice. But I have to say the heat pump's going slow, and yeah, things are going well so far. I think there's more to look at. The car's indicating -7 degrees Fahrenheit. It's pretty chilly. And again, I've cranked the heat too. I was like I put it up to 74. I got it on automatic with the high. I'm not trying to, I'm doing everything wrong. Oh, look at this. I even got the passenger heated seat on. There isn't even a passenger here. I guess I'm trying to be pretty consumption heavy. And, yep, well, it has only used 1% indicated, and who knows, we probably haven't even used 1 full percent yet. So, yep, this is it. We're just going to keep doing this. I feel like this is the most representative, and the slower I go, the worse our efficiency should be. So I'm trying to do this car a complete disservice right now. I'm doing everything wrong. Heat cranking. It's toasty in here now. It's nice. Well, you joined me cruising along. We've made it to a whopping 5 miles per hour now. It is 9:59 p.m. It's -8 indicated, and let's take a look at the stats. So far we are down to 32 or 72% state of charge, which means we've lost 2 indicated. And there's 10 p.m. Yep, okay, so it's legit. And I've like been kind of driving in the high snow, like this is all bad. And we've gone 2 miles, really going slow. So that's what, an average of 4 miles an hour. And we are using 673 watt-hour per mile, which is honestly not terrible considering how slow we're going. And we've only used 1 kilowatt-hour. Now, what I wish Tesla would show me is 1 point something kilowatt-hours. But certainly as we get close to the end, I'm gonna see how long we sit at the kilowatt-hour so I can gauge if it was a half or you know, just a small amount or whatever. So anyway, we are being way more efficient than I expected, even considering we're like driving through pretty thick snow. This is pretty resistive stuff. This isn't like a dry pavement, which you would expect a highway to be dry pavement. So this is even worst case. And so far we are barely burning anything. So wow, call me impressed. I did not think it would do this well. This is very impressive. Oh, and I've like even put on all the loads, like the rear window defrost, because it was kind of, you can tell, getting pretty icy back there. And I've even put on the wiper defrosters, which heats up the bottom portion of the glass here, so the wipers get melted. This is wild. Guys, I just got passed by a freaking bicycle. What the heck? I feel like such an idiot. Oh, we're about 45 minutes through the test at the moment. Can't be over soon enough. I feel like my neighbor's gonna start calling the cops on me for driving around the neighborhood at 1 mile an hour. We are getting close to the finish line here, pulling out of a parking lot where I've just done 1 mile an hour around this building. It is slower than a walking pace. And yeah, let's raise it up to 5 miles an hour, pull out on the street with some speed. Maybe we'll bump it up a little bit more, and then we'll come back down to 5 miles an hour. 2 more minutes left in the test. So far we are at 71%. Let's see what the final numbers look like here. All right, guys, we are at the end of the test. 1 hour of driving around, creeping my neighbors out. And it has been one heck of an experience. There we go, 10:30, stop the clock, boom. We have gone 3 miles, 2 kilowatt hours used, and 711 watt hour per mile. For the calculations, just because we've been at 2 kilowatt hours forever, I'm gonna use 3 kilowatt hours because I feel like this has just been so efficient. It's just insane. So let's run inside, let's crunch the numbers. And I think, because I also have some other cars at home, I kind of want to try this with like not a super efficient heat pump, heat scavenging car, because what this car can do with an octo valve is, because I started with a warm battery, it actually can take some of the built up thermal inertia or thermal mass of the battery pack and transfer it into the cabin by way of heat scavenging is what it's called. What I want to know is worst case scenario on a non-heat pump car. This would be a resistive heater, and starting with a stone cold battery pack. That guy did not stop at the stop sign. Yeah, I want to see how that car does. So maybe I'll pull out the old Model 3. This person's trying to stop at the stop sign. Didn't quite make it though. Yeah, people are crazy drivers out here. Yeah, I must see a bunch of accidents here. But now we can open this thing up. Full send. Woo! Full brakes. Yeah, let's take out the old Model 3. See how that does from a cold soak. Worst case scenario. That's absolute frozen battery, everything. Let's see. This was best case scenario. Let's see worst case scenario. Good morning. It is still below 0 outside, and we are running the next test, which is pretty much the same thing we did, except we're starting with a frozen ice brick of a car. This thing is sat outside, unplugged, completely covered in ice and snow for the last 2 days, and got down to below -15 last night after we were shooting. So this is a frozen brick. It's also an older Tesla with older heating technology that uses a resistive heater. Now, some cars like our Audi e-tron here, this thing will actually use a resistive heater or a heat pump, or both, depending on when it's most efficient. Although, you guys know Audi's not very good at efficiency. So anyway, then you have vehicles like my Rivian that just have a resistive heater, sort of like the Model 3. So what we're gonna do is, as soon as I get in the car, we'll put it right in a drive, reset the trip computer, and just drive. I'm gonna brush some of the snow off, and then we are going to do sort of a worst case scenario, older technology. I'm sure we're gonna burn a lot more energy than we did when we took the Model S all the way down there out before. So yeah, let's do this thing. Okay, well, I think that'll be good enough for this test. It's not like we're going fast or blowing snow all over the road. So in we go. Oh boy, it sounds a little crunchy in here. It still shows -4. Oh boy. Okay, so we're gonna run all the loads on this thing. Again, since we did it sort of nighttime, wow, you can even see the screen refresh is pretty, pretty slow here. Okay, let's turn down the audio. So we have lights on. We're gonna rip the heater. I'm not gonna go to high, but I'll go one down from high. Let's put it in drive. There we go. I've never seen a screen like get so cold. It's going slow. Let's reset this one, Midwest, whatever. And it's 8:50. So at 9:50 a.m., we can end the test. You can see severely limited performance of the battery pack. Of course, it's not going to allow much regen and not discharge because this is a cold, frozen battery. It's still drivable. You could still probably maintain highway speeds with it. It's not like it's anything super crazy. But the thing with lithium is if it's below freezing, it will not... Ooh, wipers. Come on. Come on. Well, anyway, we're going. We got to inch around. The sun will melt it. The thing is, batteries will not charge unless they are above freezing with NMC chemistry, which this is. Wow, the dampers are so stiff on this thing. So we're just gonna cruise around again, 5 miles an hour or so, something like this. The heated seat's already ripping, which is great. Can't see a damn thing. I figured I could just wipe off with the windshield wipers, but the wipers are frozen. Mission successful. We have the wipers crunchy, but unstuck. And yes, so we're just cruising 7 miles an hour, under 10. I think I was going a little bit slower last night. For some reason, the other Tesla let me use autopilot, but here it's not available. Both cars have the old radar system that is pretty much disabled now. Anyway, I got to jump on some conference calls, so I'm doing this while I do some work. I'll check in with you guys towards the end of the test, but we're just going to go anywhere between 1 and 7 miles an hour. Maybe we'll hit 10 if we're feeling really spicy. But the cabin's heating up really quick. That is the benefit of an electric car. It's just almost instant heat. Love that. Well, good news, everyone. We're just creeping along here between, 4 miles an hour in the parking lot. We can simulate, sort of a stop situation for a moment. Kind of just trying to keep it the same as I did last night. And you can see cruise control is working now. Everything is looking good. No low speed warning like we were seeing in the Model S. And we only have about 19 minutes left to go. Just finished up on some calls, so that worked out perfectly. I'll let you know what the results are here momentarily. With our starting point in sight, it is 9:49 a.m. That was perfect timing. I've just been inching around. So we have to wait for 9:50 a.m. and then we can, there we go, 9:50 a.m. Okay, wow, 8 kilowatt hours. I think I went just slightly farther than the other one. But okay, a lot more energy used here as expected, but still not as much as I would have thought. That's really not so bad. And this was absolute worst case scenario. So let's crunch the numbers. I'll give you some results that you guys might be able to use. And we've done the test. I've been so curious about this for years. And I'm glad it only took me 2 hours to answer my own questions. By the way, anyone could have done this. It didn't have to be me, but I guess you guys watch the channel, so I'm happy to waste 2 hours of my life for y'all. All right, back in the driveway. Well, guys, some numbers. In the Model S, we used indicated 2 kilowatt hours, but it stayed there for a while, so I'm saying 3 kilowatt hours. And on that vehicle, we had what I would consider to be a representative of a road trip condition, which would be you've just supercharged, you go down the highway, oh no, it's stopped. Thankfully, your battery already has a lot of thermal inertia. It can heat scavenge. It has heat pump technology, which is much more efficient than resistive heating. Even in cold temperatures, believe it or not, Tesla's heat pump technology is pretty amazing. And that is representative of what I would say is most electric cars on the road today, pretty much since 2021, was it? Every Model 3, Y, S, and X has heat pump technology. So many other EVs, even beyond these, like again, our e-tron has heat pump tech that works out pretty well. Now, it was really interesting doing it with our old Model 3 here, because I went to the extreme worst case scenario, which is a resistive heater car with a stone cold battery pack and instantly starting the test. And what the car had to do was not only heat up the cabin to keep me warm, it also had to heat up the battery so that it can output more power. And I would say it didn't heat up the battery all the way to the hottest position. Of course, it just heated it up enough where it could be usable in a situation where you can, get up to highway speeds and have some of that great electric car acceleration. So it just heated it up probably to freezing or just about. And what I noticed during the test in this Model 3 was a huge energy spend as soon as we started. I mean, really ripping the energy, the bearings were cold, everything. And then after about 20 minutes, I would say the consumption really leveled off. I wouldn't say it matched the Model S, but it was close. All in all, we used 8 kilowatt hours with this particular test. So best case scenario and worst case scenario, we're talking 3 kilowatt hours to 8 kilowatt hours in a 1 hour period of time. So how long can you go if you're stuck in traffic? Well, let's just say best case scenario, you're at 100% state of charge in a Model S or a car with a 100 kilowatt hour pack. In the Model S, you can go over 33 hours, roughly a day and a half of sitting in traffic in, minus 10 degree Fahrenheit temperatures. That's pretty damn good. And let's say you had the consumption of this car, even though, again, we had that big spend and then it leveled off. Let's just assume you always have max loads on. Well, you'd still get over 12 hours in a 100 kilowatt hour pack car. Now, again, every battery has different capacity. The maximum capacity of our Model 3 is about 68 kilowatt hours after some degradation, has 150,000 miles on it. New, it was like low 70s, so it's lost a few percent. And, maybe in this car, I would only get 8 hours, something like that. But then again, if after that big initial spend and it just relaxes and the battery stays at a reasonable temperature, the cabin stays at a reasonable temperature, I still bet you could get almost 12 to 24 hours out of this one in a similar situation on a full charge. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, you never know when the road's just going to close. If there's an accident in front of you and you're stuck. So always overcharge, always overfill in adverse weather conditions, because you just don't know. And I would say always leave about 10 to 20% extra in really extreme conditions, because then you're guaranteed at least many hours of sitting on the highway. And I hope this helped answer some questions. It was really interesting to me. Do what you want with the data. You can create your own situation. And I think we've showed a great best and worst case. Of course, this car would have done even better if we set it in the same conditions as the Model S. It may have only used 4 kilowatt hours instead of 3. Who knows? But there's your best and worst case scenario of, oh no, it's freezing, the road's closed. How long can I sit in traffic? The answer is, we don't know, because we never know what state of charge you're going to be starting at. Hope this helps demystify some things. Thanks for watching. See you in another one again soon. Bye-bye.